Welcome back everyone to another video, and in this video we'll be discussing about functions in Python. Now in mathematics there is also a concept of functions, but if you haven't learned it, it doesn't matter. Let me explain. In maths, a function is nothing but a rule or a relationship, and what it does is it maps the input set to an output set. So suppose you have certain elements over here, which is the input set over here, and there are also certain other elements in another set called the output set. So a function is nothing but a rule that defines, or like it relates this input set to this output set. So let's take an example. Suppose you have a function that takes two inputs, let's say x and y, and the output is stored in a variable called z. So let's say the function definition is addition, just a plain addition. So z equals to x plus y, and now we take two different values for x and y. Let's say x is equals to 4 and y is equal to 2. So z will be x plus y equals to 4 plus 2 equals to 6, right? And this is like what is a function, like plain definition of a function. And the same thing happens in Python. What it does is it contains some block of code that obviously you write or someone else has written, and you just use it. And what it does is just takes some inputs, or sometimes no input at all, and the main task is to produce some output. Like you have the print statement or you have the length statement. So there are various what you say as the built-in functions. So Python provide us with built-in functions. Like you have the ID, which provides a unique identifier to all the objects, like a unique identifier for each object. You have the length, which gives the length of a sequence. You also have the type, which we have used previously, and it provides the data type, or I mean it shows you the data type as an output of a particular variable, right? So the next thing which we should do right now is to learn how to define a function in Python. Now let's start with creating a first function. For that we'll be using a specific keyword related to it, which is called def, or in full form it's called define. So def, let's say the function is greet, and we are passing a parameter called name. We'll be discussing it later. After that there is a function body. I'll be using an f string, let's say hello, and then name, or the variable in this case. After that we'll be calling the function, and let's say the value of the variable is this. And now let's run this and see hello Pythonista. So what we have actually done over here is we have used a particular keyword called def to define a function. Then we have given the name of the function as greet. After that, inside parentheses we have used a parameter, or defined a parameter, which is name in this case, and then we have closed or ended a function header with a colon. After that, in the next line we have first given 4 spaces, which in this case called indentation. If you have a background in C++ or Java or even C, you might have learned that we used to give curly braces to define a function body, but since we are using Python, there is a much cooler way of doing it, which is to use indentation, 4 spaces. After that, after giving these 4 spaces, you write your function body, which is in this case is print hello and then the name. Name over here is just like a variable, and like the parameter over here is a variable. After that, we are calling the function, the greet function, and then we are passing an argument. So the thing is, if you what you see as, if like over here, if you like define something over here, it is called a parameter. But if you pass some value over here, it is called an argument. Okay, so this is how you write your first function. And hey, congratulations for writing your first function. I want to give you a pro tip. If you are like, while you're defining a function, suppose you have a function over here and you haven't used any parameters, you can define a function without using parameters. And suppose you have not properly planned out, or like you have nothing in mind to like what should be your function body. In that case, what you can do is, this might happen while you're coding or doing some big projects. And so in this case, you need to use a certain keyword which is quite important, and that is the pass. The pass keyword allows you to like skip the function body for a particular amount of time. Like you have to define it afterwards, but not right now. Like if you're not in the mood of defining a function, you can just like use the pass keyword and define the function body at a later point of time. Now let's try to understand why we use functions, or why functions are an important part in the day-to-day life of a program. So functions provide several features. The first one is abstraction. So what is abstraction? In simple terms, like the motto or the philosophy of abstraction is to hide the complex process and only focus on the things that are important. So suppose like in the length function, the main use case of using length is to get the length of a particular sequence. So length of a sequence, right? So you don't need to know how the length function works internally, like the what is the code and how is it using to run and to get the output. You don't need to know it. The only thing that is necessary for you to know is that there is something called a length function, and you need to use it to find the length of a particular sequence. That's it. Next, we have encapsulation. So what this means is, functions, they create their own namespace. So like as we have learned about while defining a function, in greet, if you define some variable called var1, let me be more clear over here. Suppose you have the greet function and you have a variable declared called var1, and so what happens is, if you're declaring over here, it will only be present inside a function. The definition, like what you have given, like if you have defined inside the greet function, it will only be remaining, or it will only remain inside this function, and you can't access outside it. Like if you're trying to access from the outside, you won't be allowed it. So this is what we mean as encapsulation. Modularity. Now this is quite important. The reason being that suppose you have a very big problem, like you have to create a very big project, right? And this big project, you can what you can say as shorten it, or maybe, or what you can say as, like the main thing is you can distribute your task into several small pieces, and at the same time you can use these small pieces again and again. So you are getting to like reducing the complexity of your problem, and also you have got the ability to use it or reuse it again and again. So with functions you get the feature of modularity and reusability. And when you define a functions or define various functions for a very big project, you can also like it also creates maintainability, because this huge complexity, a very complex project, is reduced to less complex problems, right? So this makes it easier to maintain a particular project. And at the same time you can also, like, if the complexity is reduced, it also enables us to test it for various use cases, so it becomes very easy for us to test it. So the next thing which we'll be doing right now is to learn about the various kind of arguments, like the arguments while calling a function. Let's define a function. So let's say we have a function called cost calculate, and we pass three parameters: item, which is the item name, quantity, and price. Then we'll be doing a very simple calculation. So print f, and then what we do is quantity of item is, let's say we're doing it as in the form of dollars. So it's, let's say, quantity into price dot to f, and this dot to f means that we'll be taking up to 2 decimal places. Like the result will be, like, it will be showing only up to 2 decimal places, right? So after this we'll be printing it. So let me write it first. So it will show the output up to 2 decimal places, right? After that we'll be calling the function, and now there are 3 ways to call this function. So let me first write method 1, method 2, method 3. So the first method is just using positional arguments. What is positional arguments? The arguments that we pass while calling a function, if it depends upon the position or order, then it is known as the positional arguments. So cost calculate, and we pass, let's say, banana. The number of quantities is 6, and the price, let's say, 1.5. So this is what we call as the positional argument. The reason is that item name is directly coinciding with banana, quantities is directly coinciding with 6, and the price is directly coinciding with 1.5. Next we have the keyword arguments. Now the main problem with positional arguments is you need to know the specific order of the parameters, and if you don't know, it will sometimes throw an error. So to solve it, we use keyword arguments. So cost calculate item equals to banana, price equals to 1.6, and should be a string, right? and quantity is equals to 8. Now if you see over here, I have changed the order, right? But while changing the order, it will not throw any kind of error because I have used the variables that was used over here, right? So this is the benefit of using keyword arguments while calling a function. Another thing that you can also do is you can mix it, like you can use position as well as keyword arguments. But the one thing that you should keep in mind is while using both positional and keyword arguments, you have to make sure that the position arguments are in order. So what I'm trying to say is the first thing that you should pass if you're using position for item is banana, right? After that, if you're trying to use keyword arguments, you can write quantity and price. It doesn't really matter. Like if you first write price equals to 2.6 or if you first write quantities equals to 10, it really doesn't matter. But what really matters is this one. You have to put it in the first if you're using it as a positional argument. Okay, so now if you run this, okay, cost calculate is not defined. Let's see. I haven't saved it. Yeah, so you can see 6 bananas. Let me just remove this off. 6 bananas $9, 8 bananas $12, and 10 bananas $26. So yeah, this is how you use functions and how you define a function. So if you like this video, then hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon so you never miss an update, and I'll see you next time.